Hey, what's up, everyone? It's Tristan,
David.
and this is our new podcast. We've been wanting to do this for quite some time and finally decided to block out time every week to do it. And we've already done this video once today and had some audio issues, so
By some audio, meaning
zero audio. It didn't record the audio because the mic was screwed up, but regardless, we're going to give it a go again, and hopefully this works out this time because we will not know until we're done, but we're going to keep our fingers crossed and hope to have everything work out well, and you'll have an enjoyable podcast to watch. And today's topic is business. I've been in business in one form or another since I was a little kid. Like so many other people, their first foray into business is a lemonade stand, and I was no different. I started off by having a Kool-Aid stand. I was either 5 or 6 when I remember having my first one. Set out a little card table with some Kool-Aid and Dixie cups. We had the Dixie cups that we got at the pharmacy. And I set up because there was guys that were working on an apartment building next door. And so it was a hot summer day. I figured what Mom said, go set up a lemonade stand or a Kool-Aid stand. And that's what I did. But the funny thing about it that I remember is the first guy that came up to me to buy a cup had a $20 bill. And this is in late 80s, early, it would have been like either 89 or 90. So that's $20 is a lot of money. Well, I didn't have any change, so I just took the $20 and gave him his Kool-Aid and said thank you. And he laughed for a second and, asked for change. And of course I didn't have any. And me being a little kid, he was like, okay, fine, keep it. So that's what sparked my interest in business, because I figured, it's an easy way to make money. And being a kid and being a poor kid, if you didn't have, if you weren't making money for yourself or getting money for yourself somehow, there was nothing. You didn't have the extra money. So I started having lemonade stands and Kool-Aid stands at least every weekend growing up. And if I wasn't having a lemonade stand or a Kool-Aid stand, I would have yard sales with things that we had that we no longer needed, and we'd set up. I set up all my little wares, and people coming out from church would stop. And I remember making sandwiches, and I sold popcorn to them. I went to the local store. They used to sell these big, huge bags of popcorn at the deli. So I did the same thing as like I would do with Kool-Aid. I bought this huge bag of popcorn, and it was probably like maybe $1 or something. So I used the week's profits from the previous sale, and I bought popcorn. And I figured, well, if they have popcorn and it's salty, then they'll want something to drink too. So I set up and sold cups of popcorn and Kool-Aid, and I even had you could get them both for a discount price.
Oh, that's pretty cool though.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
You didn't too,
no.
And that was surprising. Like I literally thought that everyone had a Kool-Aid stand or a lemonade stand on their end.
Faintly remember making mud pies like after it stormed one day, but no, I was too busy adventuring and riding my skateboard down the hill in the front yard.
You like doing the adventurous stuff, and I was the young entrepreneur. And even as I grew up, Mom liked going to bingo a lot, and usually like every day there was somewhere to go. So if I would go with her, rather than just sitting there, I would make crafts, because all the old ladies that went to bingo there, they liked little trinkets and good luck charms. Yep. So I'd go to the Fun Party store. Was big decades ago. They've all since closed, but I used to they had little tiny erasers, all different shapes.
Like the school supply store.
Well, it was no, it was like it's almost like Party City is now.
But for teachers?
No, it was just like a party store. They sold like balloons and whatnot, but then they sold like little stuff, like because they would use like erasers if you made like party favors. So they sold those too. They were like, those flat
prizes for like carnival.
Right.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, they had those flat erasers, like they would be like hamburgers and things like that, and I think they were like 5 cents a piece, no more than a dime back in the day. And they had them in like big plastic bulk containers. So I would get those, and then we would go to Michael's and get pin backs. They had like for making buttons and pins, but just and then I'd hot glue them on to the erasers, and the pin backs cost probably 5 cents at the time, and the erasers cost 5 or 10 cents. So then I'd sell them for a quarter or 50 cents, and I'd sell, $10 or $15 when instead of just sitting there while Mom was playing bingo, or before she was playing bingo. Right? Well, exactly. I mean, better than just sitting around. And it, when she was going there, at least I could go there and spend time with her when, rather than staying home.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my youth experience into entrepreneurship. Yeah. But you never did any of that.
Anytime like we sold chocolate or something, I would end up eating.
Right.
Eating.
Well, I did that a lot too. And I think it kind of ties into it too. Like when I was in high school, for drama club and things like that, I was always like the one that would spearhead the fundraising.
Yeah.
Because it was just like the same thing. Like I had the knack for business.
So you just volunteered
yourself. Well, they jokingly, sort of jokingly, like they, everyone, we had officers and stuff for the club. The teacher who organized it said that I was the business manager because I handled all of the fundraising that we needed to do. So we sold candy bars and hoagies and the whole lot. And I'd always sell tons of them. And then I did that again, when we started volunteering for relay and stuff like that. It just all it all comes together.
Yeah.
Selling. Good times.
Yeah, that's how we got here.
Yes, how we got into business. It was a two-parter for me. Like, one, we liked candles, and we spent lots and lots of money on candles. So, but we were never really pleased with them.
No, not really.
So we happened upon a listing on Craigslist of a hobbyist that was selling the rest of their materials that they had, for doing their hobby, and they just weren't getting it.
Yeah, she basically said that she didn't know what she was doing and could never get them to burn properly.
Exactly. So for $100, we bought all of her stuff and started experimenting.
Didn't you try to get more at the time?
No, I don't think so. I don't remember her haggling. If anything, I think we might have haggled to get it cheaper. It may have been like $120 she wanted for it, and I talked her down to $100.
That actually sounds very
good. Yeah. Well, it's good to get a bargain.
Yeah, but it was mostly just wax.
Yeah, it was like wax, and there was a couple of fragrances.
Couple of pots.
Lots of molds.
There was molds. That was a lot. Like pillar molds and stuff. That was really it, though.
Right. But then we picked up some extra fragrances at local craft stores and started, they weren't the greatest. No. But, then we started to experiment and we launched the business. And we went from having nearly no sales, always struggling, because we weren't set up for business at that time, I think.
No, not at all. We were playing the part. We didn't know we were.
Well, I think
you knew what you were doing. You just stuff wasn't in place for
it. Right. The website, especially, it was a Yahoo site. It was like one of the first sites that I did, and it wasn't very user friendly, and it led to nearly zero sales. So then, after fighting it, we went to we did Shopify next.
Did we?
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah, we had this.
Yeah, we
We
did
had the
because
regular.
we had Shopify before we had Etsy.
Right. We had Shopify for a while, and that it was doing okay. It was steady, but it was still not great.
Right.
Because it was the first. I was still learning the platform, and I mean, if you're building a e-commerce platform for yourself, it's not easy. But thankfully, I have I know how to do graphics, but my graphics have gotten better over time.
So much better.
So much better.
Whenever we look back and see,
I do. I reflect on it all the time of what our first images look like based
this basic rectangle with some text, and maybe I think it was like one or two little soybeans.
Right. Yeah. It was,
and they were just like copy pasted.
Well, yeah, it was really bad. It was. I mean, it was bad. I can say that honestly. That looking back, it was bad. But I mean, we got
that's
sales.
That's how you grow.
But that's how you learn. You keep doing it, and when you do it for 14 years, and you edit thousands of images, because anytime I make any changes on the website, you have to change 2,000 times because we have so many fragrances. So yeah, anytime when you do it thousands and thousands and thousands of times,
and that's the thing he's an expert at, is changing things.
Changing things.
Yes.
Well, it's always to improve the customer experience, and it's always to better our stuff. And it
little refresh.
Well, yeah, a little zhuzh. Exactly. And I don't get to. I mean, if I had a staff of dozens, then those subtle changes would be less big because they would be constantly going. But when you are self-employed and you have to run everything for yourself, it's not like some of these businesses that people get into that are already formed and they don't have to do the manufacturing aspect of it. We're doing both. We have to do the manufacturing, we have to do the business end, we have to do the shipping end. Like, there's so many bigger things that all go into it.
Everything we do.
And it's just the two of us. So you make the best of the time, you prioritize. You have to learn how to prioritize, and that's always still even a struggle. Because one thing you need to do.
Well, once you forget to do one, like if I forget to order fragrance oil or something, then it's not like seems like a lot, and then whenever the order comes up and it's like, oh, that
one thing, everything
was for like 6 orders,
right?
It's like, oh crap, what did I do?
Yeah,
and then it's a mad dash to get everything fixed.
Right. Yeah, everything is linked together.
That's why prioritizing stuff is so important.
Right.
But we try.
I mean, we're definitely a lot better at it now than we were years past.
Agreed. Because stuff is going out so quickly.
Right. We started off with a goal of 7 to 10 days, and most of the orders were like on the upper part of the 10 days.
9.
Like to get out in the 7 was like, oh, okay, like we're getting better. Like, but that also has to take into consideration of all the fragrances that we have in stock that are available, and all the products that we make, all the different ingredients that go into those products, all the packaging that goes into those products,
all the problems
labels,
with
everything.
The packaging because of all the issues due to COVID. It's just
there's so many
little pieces,
hundreds. Like if I would sit down and list like the hundreds of different things like that all go into the business, it's like it's never ending.
And I never really think that way.
Right.
Which is my problem.
And I, on the other hand, think about literally all those little things, and it's constant. It's constantly going on. Yeah. But we've gotten better, and now, it's not uncommon for orders to go out, in 2 days, if not the next day, depending on what it is.
That's what I like.
Because we have everything in stock,
Yeah.
and when you don't have to worry about a supplier like sending your order and, oh, well, that ingredient that you needed for that order that's supposed to go out tomorrow that you were expecting to come in today and everything would have been fine, they didn't include it, or they didn't include enough of it. You only got half of your order,
or it went out of stock after you ordered.
Right.
Like, you know what? We're not going to tell you about that. We're just going to let it
horrible.
be a big surprise, and that's happened a lot.
Well, that's what that one supplier, they let customers jump the line for an extra fee. And I can understand that, because we even offer like expedited shipping for people who need stuff, like for a birthday party that's coming up. Like, then that's fine. I can understand it if there's a need for it. But if you don't have that model, that shipping and fulfillment model down, which they don't, since they've acquired other businesses and they're drawing all their stuff from everywhere, if they allow 10 people to jump the line for an ingredient that you had already placed, well,
they already took the money.
Well, aside from already taking the money for it, they're moving those invoices up, and then when they get to fulfill our order, which would have gone out in the normal scheme of things, then it's not available, and it's it screws the businesses that don't do that.
That's a nice light.
Oh yeah, natural light. That's why I also wanted to record these during the day, because the lighting is better.
That's also 8 million degrees in here.
It's very hot, yes. I turned the air conditioner off because you can't hear it. And we already had those sound issues, so I didn't want to run the risk of the air conditioner overpowering it as well.
It's been fun.
Yes.
Challenges.
Aside from the obvious, which is COVID, I mean, it's posed a lot of challenges from just the supply chain situation. It's gotten better. I don't feel like it's like, if there's anything that we need now, I think we have a better chance of getting it than, say, 2 months into the pandemic, where we were like scrambling to find bottles. I mean,
legit scrambling.
But the reason for that was everyone was using them for sanitizer. And there were new FDA. The FDA didn't require anyone to get approved, which is why we never sold sanitizer. I've always wanted to sell it, but hand sanitizer is one of those things where it falls into
it's like sunscreen, basically.
Well, it falls into a different cosmetic line, because it has a function. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. It's a functional product to sanitize, or to, it's not like soap is to clean your hands. Hand sanitizer uses ingredients like alcohol and other solvents to get rid of the bacteria. But they allowed it, just because of the need for hand sanitizer. They allowed everyone, provided that they follow the recipe. It has to have 70%. Their recipe of 70% to make it, and they didn't worry about the getting approval for it. So you had liquor distillers and everyone using like their liquor runoff to make sanitizer, and they of course were buying bottles and different than what they were typically using them for. Mm-hmm. So there were shortages everywhere.
Yeah.
And
bottles, caps, name it. It was a rough time.
It was. And luckily we were able to find other suppliers, domestic suppliers, and it cost more. So it cut in the margin, which was hard. But
we found I like squeezy bottles, so it's okay.
You do like the squeezy bottles.
We're keeping them.
I'm still on the fence.
I like them. I like the squeezy bottles. You should say if you like squeezy bottles.
Do you like David wants to know if you like squeezy bottles rather than our other bottles.
I don't like the hard bottles because they're too crunchy.
Well, I think it has a function. I suppose for certain things, the squeezy bottles make more sense.
Like in the shower, It's so much easier with a squeezy bottle.
Right.
I'm just saying.
But for things like hand soap that has a pump on it, it's kind of redundant because you're not ever squeezing it.
Yeah. So maybe we have both then.
And the same thing with bubble bath. Like, you don't really have to squeeze the bottle. But for body wash, I understand it.
I still say. We got off topic because of me, as always.
We were talking about challenges. We're still talking about challenges. What is your big challenge?
Math.
You don't like math?
I am horrible at math. Like, bad. Need a calculator to add basic numbers. I've gotten better.
You've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
You're either a numbers person, you're not a numbers person.
I am not a numbers person.
That's just like a brain function sort of thing.
My thing was dorky, but I was always a speller. Mm-hmm. That was my subject of choice.
Well, that's good too. My spelling's getting worse as time goes on.
Spelling bees, yeah.
But you've gotten better.
I have.
And if you ever have a question, you always ask me, and we figure it out together. And
because ramping up recipes, if it's
numbers, right? Those little decimal points add up when you.
It doesn't seem like a lot when you're making one. No. But whenever you're making 50, it's like, oh, there's enough left over for like 6 now. What?
So it leads to us having lots of extra stuff around the house to use for ourselves.
Random tubs of soap and.
But I don't mind that because then we never have to go to the store for it. All we have to get is dish detergent and yeah. Next, we have to make laundry detergent.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the next thing.
Well, I do have thoughts of doing more household because most of the ingredients, like for the most part, are the same, depending on what you're making. But I have lots of ideas. It's just a matter of time.
Different concentrations.
But I think a laundry detergent would be pretty awesome, especially if you get one that
smells
a fragrance that you like, because then it's just that extra layer of fragrance layering. I like it. I like it. Because then all my clothes can smell like pistachios. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that.
Well, because if you get laundry detergent, and tell me if I'm right here, it's either like a floral tropical scent or linen or like lavender or something, like heavy floral.
Or the powdered ones that just
or powdery ones.
Acrid, I guess.
Like that's
not
it.
Acrid. What would the word be? Noxious?
Yeah.
Noxious. We'll go with that.
So having that option would be a good thing. But we'll look into that. It's one of those things that's like, I'd like to do it, but time. It's just time.
Basically.
So look out for laundry detergent and other household products in the near future. Who knows?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
My nose is really itchy. I think there's a cat around.
Oh no. But basically, when it comes to business, like anytime we have challenges, like it's just the main part of business is just how you handle those obstacles that come up, because there is literally always something that you have to contend with. And it's either like mundane things that you have to do all the time, or it's like, oh, this is a catastrophe. Like, how am I going to pivot from that? And we've had some of those situations. We don't need to dwell on them. But right. I mean, you wake up one day and your livelihood is
ripped away.
Is gone. Like, that was probably one of those moments in my life where like I had that,
what the F do we do?
That sinking feeling, like a physical response to it, like walking downstairs to tell you what happened. It's like,
and I knew because he like all the color in his face was just completely gone.
Like, we're gonna be okay, but this happened, and 75% of our business is now gone. Like, how do you deal with that? And you just
the pivot. Icing on the cake, though, is what was it, like 8 months ago? They basically said that we could go back.
Oh, I don't know if it was like an open invitation, but it looks like from logging into the account that that option is there. But
it's
I
never gonna happen.
I couldn't for a million years. And it's the whole Etsy landscape has changed just from like looking from an industry standpoint. It was crowded then. It's even more crowded now. And now like the things like the advertising isn't free anymore. They almost force you, if you want to get any exposure, you have to offer free shipping.
Mm.
And when you're making small handcrafted products that are like a few dollars a piece, shipping is always like the horrible, and it's taken me over a decade to even get it sort of right. And
every time they change it.
It changes every year. It changes. We've had price increases twice this year. Yeah. So, and then when you have to contend with Amazon offering free shipping, it's not like if you're buying something from Amazon that has free shipping because you have Prime or whatever. We have Prime too. I love it, but
don't dwell on it.
Well, from an outsider who's not like in the know of how the whole thing works, the reason why they offer that free shipping, the business has to make all of their product, which doesn't really work for our business because we make everything to order. So short of like pre-making materials, and we tried that once before and it was a struggle, big struggle bus. Short of doing that, and you have to pay to ship it there, and then any shipping that you collect gets deducted from whatever they have to pay to ship the item. Yes, they get the lowest shipping rates, but you're paying shipping to get there and then paying shipping to go. You're paying double shipping. So if it's a low cost product, you're not making anything. You add in advertising cost if you promote stuff on there. They are heavy on coupons now, offering coupons that it shows up in the listing. Clip this coupon for $1 off, $2 off, whatever. Yeah. It was one of their new features. And now they have the new shipping thing where based on the shipping, which I like features of this, based on your actual shipping times, not what you post to say like 7 to 10 days. Yeah. It's like actual what your historical shipping is. So customers get a better idea of like, well, it may say 7 to 10 days, but it's really 3 to 4.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
So that's a cool new feature. I like that new feature. Yeah. But back to like the expense of it, like, and that then you have to take into consideration the cost to make the product, the raw materials. Like the margins are slim. Yeah. So if you don't have everything down, and that's why when I look on Etsy and I look on Amazon and see like in the forums and stuff that we're members of, people selling their wares. I love of everything, like entrepreneurialism is literally my favorite thing, and will always be. Like, I'm a businessman at heart. So, but when I see these people, they are selling their things, I know down to the 10th of a cent of what all of our materials cost, and it took all this time to get that right. But you look at these people that are selling stuff, and you know what went into making that.
You know they're not making any.
You know they're not making any.
And it makes you a little bit sad.
It does make you sad. It makes me sad for two reasons. It makes me sad because you know that they're not making anything, and their actions of not selling, they're undercutting everybody else who's doing it.
Without even realizing it.
And if you have a customer that's not sensitive to cost, who like is just like, I want a bar of soap. There's a $2 bar of soap and there's a $5 bar of soap. If they are worried about cost, they're going to buy the $2 soap over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to, it's not going to matter what went into making that bar. They just want a bar soap, and they want it for the cheapest that they can get it. So our constant goal and struggle is to differentiate what our products are. Like, they are handmade to order. Every single product that we make is made by him right before it ships.
Mm-hmm.
Literally under 24 hours before it goes out is everything's made to order. So it's not stuff that's sitting around forever.
Right.
Like, that's the handcraft, and people who shop handmade typically tend to get it more than the regular customer. The cat wants to visit.
I just made her sad.
It's okay. You'll have plenty of lap time later. You get it every single day. Yeah. The typical handmade customer gets it, that you're going to spend more, but you're getting a better quality product.
Gotcha.
Self-employed?
Oh, man.
Self-employed, well, just being a business owner, it's totally different than working your traditional 9-to-5 job. When you go to work every single day, that end of your 40 hours, if you're lucky to get 40 hours, you're going to have a paycheck. It's not the same when you're in business for yourself.
Yeah, it's
it's roller coasters. Just like the industry is, like, you have spring peaks, you have holiday big roller coasters, and you just have to ride it.
End of the month.
Sometimes the beginning of the month is better, sometimes the end of the month is better. It depends. Like, I think they're kind of even both ways. Like, at the beginning of the month, you have people who purchase things because they purchase stuff for the month. Then you have people at the end of the month who buy stuff because they have leftover money that they hadn't budgeted for or spent throughout the month. Mm-hmm. That's how I see that roller coaster. But you just have to plan for those peaks and valleys, and hope that despite COVID and every other situation that comes at you, that at the end of the day that it works out for you.
It always does in the end.
It does. It's a struggle. Like the old adage of entrepreneurs are the only people who work 80 hours to avoid working 40 hours. And it's funny because we
100.
Work like 100 hours, if not more. But it's always for a better goal. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I always worry nonstop, and you're the one who always has to talk me off the ledge.
Well, I just have to manage your expectations, like, because you're not from the business world. So, like, I've done this for literally since I was a kid. I mean, even through high school, I was always selling stuff. So, like, I know how, like, the basics of the business work, and I went to college for it too. Like,
certainly gotten better.
But it
used to be really, like, it used to be bad.
Yeah, well, you'd have panic attacks because you're worried about if the lights are going to be on.
Now I'm just like,
Well, because all you can do is trust the data.
Yeah,
and that's
my hardest, the hardest thing to do for me
is because it's numbers. You have to crunch the numbers. So we all know the only thing you can depend on is if I say, well, we're up 40%. Well, that, like, up 40% is better than down 40%. Yes. But actually understanding what up 40% means, based on our previous year's sales, it's probably like in one ear out the other for you. Sometimes you just, like, if we're up, then we're up.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And if we're down, if we're down, you're like, we haven't had an order in 2 days, then you know that we're down. Yes. But you hope for that constant trickle to go, and that's how it has been for quite some time. Mm-hmm. We're always on the up. And thanks to Amazon, despite it being a juggernaut that I didn't want to go into, you have to. You all but have to.
Yeah, you kind of have no choice.
And if not for advertising purposes, like, then, they know what they're doing, and they have better algorithms and better advertising practices than I could ever in a million years do myself. And as much as I dislike some of the business practices that they engage in, I just use it as a search engine. Because, if you search for our candles, and we put all of our like one-off products on there and our best-selling products, we've started to make them available. It does and has for the past almost 2 years now. We get decent traffic from them. So it has its bonus, its pluses and minuses. Yeah.
I couldn't read what that said for a second. That's
where we're headed?
I was like, what did that say?
Where we're headed?
It said wine.
My writing
kind of looks like wine to me.
Your writing's worse than mine.
Oh yeah.
Where we're headed. That's our last topic. Yeah. We're headed for greatness.
We are. Yeah.
That's the thing that always keeps me going, is what I know based on my just knowledge of business and expectations for ourselves. Like, I know that we're headed somewhere. It's just 24 hours in the day. You have to get a couple hours of sleep in.
And whenever you're falling asleep on the couch at 10 o'clock at night.
Because I'm constantly thinking. Business is always like, regardless. I mean, I can be in a full conversation with someone, and you will have my full undivided attention. Mm-hmm. But I'm still thinking at the same time, like, this needs done today. This needs done next week. I need to research this. Like, it's all still grinding away there. Mm-hmm. To the point of, it almost is physical exhaustion when I'm done, when I shut my brain off. That's why, like, I'm out in 2 minutes.
And
then there's you.
Recently, it's kind of the same for me.
Thinking more?
Well, no, falling asleep.
Falling asleep easier. Yeah. Well, that's good. But yeah, usually it was like you'd lay in bed for like 2 hours, 3 hours, thinking about
watching 8 episodes of Bob's Burgers, just not being able to go to sleep.
But yeah, it's you're constantly, as a self-employed business owner, you have to constantly be thinking about ways to improve, ways to get better. And that's what I do every day. I wake up trying to make my goal for every day. And some days I fail, some days I succeed in doing more than I thought that I could. But I always call the day a success is if at the end of the day, when I take my business hat off, is the business in a better place than it was the day before? That's always my goal, and that should be your goal too. Like, what did I do, and what can I do tomorrow to make sure that it's a more successful day than it was the day before? And that's what you have to do. So that is the end of our podcast for this week. Again, this is the second one. Hopefully this worked. We'll find out here in a minute or two. You may not even see this. If it didn't work, this will never air. But if it did work, you have to let us know what you think. And if you have ideas of future topics that we should talk about, or if you have some comments, did you have a business when you were a kid? Do you have a business that you want to start now? Well, maybe if you have ideas, throw them out there, and we'll comment. And hopefully you like this, because, like I said at the top, like, we've been wanting to do something more casual, less sell, just so we could engage.
Talk.
Right, just have a conversation about specific topics that we wanted to discuss. And hopefully we accomplished that today. In the upcoming weeks, next week, we are talking about scents. It's getting sentimental. We're going to talk about our favorite scents, some of the favorite scents of customers, some of our best-selling scents. So if you have a favorite fragrance, let us know in the comments, and we will discuss it next week. Maybe give you some options, and we'll talk about how scent affects you, and all about scent. It'll be a fun show. The following week, even more fun for me, is comfort foods. We're going to talk about our favorite comfort foods. I love to cook. You like to eat?
Probably going to have some 10 cheese mac and cheese.
You want to make some mac and cheese?
Yes, absolutely do.
I guess we're going to make some mac and cheese. So you'll have to learn about our mac and cheese. I do make some good mac and cheese. After our wedding, it was like $150 mac and cheese because we had so much cheese left over from the party afterward.
So much cheese.
And we turned it into mac and cheese along with prosciutto. That was the best mac and cheese I ever ate in my life.
We ate it for probably 3 days.
Well, yeah. Well, when you spend $150 on mac and cheese, you have to eat it. And then our last show of the podcast of the month will be Hot Topics. I don't know what the topics are going to be, but they're going to be a machination of
we'll figure it out.
Of everything that happens this month, and maybe some juicy stuff. We'll see. We'll have to see how this month goes. And hopefully you'll join us then. Again, if you have any comments on the topic that we talked about today, please leave it in the comments. Or if you have any ideas of what we should do in the future, let us know. I'm exhausted. After doing this twice.
Yeah.
And it's hot. It's very hot.
It's very warm.
It's very warm. I'm going to go get some AC and some iced tea. You should do the same. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Tell me what's the tea?